building, and some of those negative voices lie at the top of that building, and the positive voices right at the bottom. How do we get them to come up the stairs or the elevator to reach the top?
So before, Palesa, we can get them to actually rise up, we need to look at what is the root cause. And sometimes the root cause could be how we were brought up, where there was only praise in terms of achievement. Sometimes it could be cultural and societal pressures that we experience that, we have to be the best. Wherever we are, we have to show up, we have to be strong, and we have those pressures upon us. And sometimes it can be a culture that you're working in from a workplace point of view, and there could be some toxicity there from a competitive point of view. It could also be personal traits that we have to pick up. Are you a perfectionist? Are you someone who's constantly wanting to be a high achiever, which is, always very healthy? So you need to pick up where is the root cause of this. And also new transitions, going to a new job, facing a new opportunity, coming onto radio and etc., because you don't know what people are going to say when you are talking about imposter syndrome. That could also be a root cause of you starting to doubt yourself. And some of the things that we can do to actually overcome it, there is such power in naming the enemy. There is such power in naming it and being aware that, no man, this thing is actually trying to trip me up from actually getting to where I need to go. So once you've named it, then it can't hide anymore in the shadows of your mind. Mm-hmm. And then you need to start reframing your thoughts. And you need to start, replacing those thoughts. I don't belong here. I can't do this. Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. You start saying, but I earned it. Mm-hmm. I deserve to be here. I've done this before. Mm-hmm. And something that is very important as a coach that I would often encourage my clients is that keep a journal. And that journal should track the things that you've done well, things that you may not see it as an achievement because you are constantly looking for the herald of others. But you being able to achieve, 10 more reps in the mm-hmm. morning during that exercise, that's something to say, hey, we did that. So it's just putting a practice around you that constantly monitors this voice to be aware that we are where you are there, but we are not going with your narrative. We are building our own narrative. And lastly, we need to practice self-compassion. We need to treat ourselves with absolute care and with absolute kindness. I remember an influencer once said, she said she talks to herself like a 2-year-old. I mean, it sounds rather funny, but she says, I take care of myself. I talk to myself like a 2-year-old. You are doing well. You can do this. And oftentimes we are not kind to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That self-talk that you're speaking about there, and that self-encouragement, and it's something that we don't do a lot. And I wonder how also this imposter syndrome can actually be influenced by also the people around us. When you want to do something new, maybe different, where we get our guidance from, where we get our advice from, the people that we position as, besties. At times those are not the best people for them to encourage us because they know us in a mundane sense. And at times when it comes to certain things that you want to develop, new things that you want to pursue, should you get an external advice, maybe should you find alternative voices to help you deal with that internal sabotage. We're speaking about the imposter syndrome with Bathabile Mageti, who is a transformational coach. It's 21 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. Let's go to a break and then we'll be back and continue this one and find a little bit more. What other tools can we use to go beyond that voice that always holds us back?
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Namaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 to 9 a.m. Central African Time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and shine on Channel Africa.
Get set and be ready to go.
On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Mushatama.
Yeah, I mean, many of us have, goals and passions outside of the work we do. In fact, sometimes your work might not be your passion, but you've always known that, one day I really want to pursue this. These days, a lot of the time, people can realize the potential of social media, and we want to be influencers and content creators. We understand our niche. We know exactly what we'd be good at showcasing on social media, but it's that start. You want to start a podcast, but you're not really getting to it. Maybe you've even brought the equipment, but just going for it is quite hard. We're chatting about imposter syndrome when trying to go into your passions that fall outside of your career. Still joining us is transformational coach Bathabile Mageti. Right now, social media, Bathabile, has a huge influence on our lives, right? Maybe not even personally, but we're always on there, and we don't realize just how much it impacts our everyday lives, because we see people doing amazing. Like on social media, it looks like everybody is following their passion, is living their best dreams. When it comes to social media, how much of social media content, how much does that impact on our imposter syndrome?
Oh, Palesa, I feel like when you're talking about that podcast, you may be preaching to me, but that's a conversation for another time.
Both you and I, Bathabile.
Oh, wow. Palesa, it's amazing how social media really does impact us. It's a powerful tool that can be used for social change, but it's also a tool that can really get one to question the validity of their existence, because you're constantly seeing people that are moving, that are shaking, that are making things happen. And what becomes important is, who do you follow on social media and why are you following them? But before you even get to that place, you need to have that internal conversation. And that's why that personal awareness becomes so important, because that personal awareness is a checker for you that gives you an indication that, okay, certain spaces, when you see this is how you feel, and you start marking that as evidence that, okay, when I look at that content, this is how it makes me feel. So maybe I shouldn't watch that content. And sometimes it's not bad content, but it's just raising up inside of you questions about yourself that, that make you feel like you are inadequate. So personal awareness becomes very important in how we approach social media, because then it guides us in terms of what do we follow? Why are we following it? What are we taking from it? And is it adding value into our lives, or is it taking away value from our lives? And once we start asking ourselves those coaching questions, those internal coaching questions, then we start having to, face the answers that, okay, this is actually not helping me. So what do I need to do? So maybe I need to unfollow a couple of people. Maybe I need to step away from social media and maybe have 1 hour a day.
Get off Twitter, of course.
Get off Twitter, absolutely. So you need to have those personal conversations, Benjamin, and really face the saboteur head on.
Yeah. It's so interesting as well, because it's not just the online world that can be discouraging. It's at times the people in your own world that can say, hey, you don't know anything. Have you ever had a conversation with someone by typing and say, I'd actually like to do this? It's like, Mara, my friend, I've never heard you talking about this. No way. You think you can do it? Sometimes it's those people that are very close to us that at times don't see our potential, that just see us in a mundane way because they've just experienced us Jesus was experienced in his hometown, and that's why he couldn't perform any real miracles,
I'm so glad you brought that up, Benjamin. You just brought up one of my favorite topics. And as you were sharing it, I noted on a concept. There's a concept that I often teach to clients or anyone that cares to listen. And the honor concept is when you get around people that don't honor the gift that is inside of you, that don't acknowledge who you are and who you're called to be it friends, be it family, be it colleagues. Jesus actually told his disciples that when you get to a city and they don't accept you, dust off your feet, leave that place, and take your peace with you. And I am very intentional about not being in spaces that don't honor the gift that I am. So if I'm not honored in a space, I will remove myself and make sure that I get myself into spaces that honor me. Not worship, not glorification, but people who see that there's a gift in this woman. There's a gift that we can partake in, and there's also a value that we can add so that this gift can, be lifted. And that's why the self-awareness, I'll go back to it again, it becomes so important because you start picking up those voices. If you are speaking to, let's say, I hope there's no Lesego listening, and Lesego starts saying, girl, this is not for you, perhaps you need to start minimizing your contact with her, because once you hear that voice long enough, you start believing, actually, it's not for me. But also you need to be careful, because then you don't want people who are always just, speaking your praises, but not giving you, obviously, a true reflection of what you need to know. But you need to be careful in terms of what voices are you hearing, because they impact your faith and how you can show up daily. So be very intentional with who speaks into your life, because that's very important to actually you stepping out and rising to the occasion of your calling.
I love that. It's not easy to overcome this imposter syndrome, but, one step at a time is really what it takes. Sometimes you take one little step, maybe you buy a piece of equipment, you do something, and then you get overwhelmed again. You take a few months or a few weeks not doing anything, but then you have to encourage yourself to continue taking one step at a time. Is it menial to do that, or, does any step count?
That is exactly the process, Palesa. You start little by little. You be it on a day-to-day basis. There's something that Amy Cuddy says, who has one of the most watched podcasts on TED Talk, and she talks about the superwoman stance, where if you're going for an interview or you're going for a conversation that you are not too prepared for in terms of just from an emotional point of view, you go into the bathroom, you set your feet apart, you raise your hands up, and you stand like that just for a few seconds. And what happens actually physiologically, your body starts catching up with that actual stance, and it boosts you up so that you can have a confidence. And that's almost like just for that moment. So there's tools that you can employ for that moment when they are needed. But there's long-term tools that you can employ for yourself that can help you in the long run. And some of those, as I mentioned earlier, it is the self-talk, where you start talking to yourself differently. You start reframing your thoughts and start giving. Another important one is naming your inner critic. Giving that inner critic a name. Like if, for example, I don't know, doubtful Debbie, and say, listen here, doubtful Debbie, we are not listening to you today. This is what we are doing. Something powerful that I do for myself every day. I speak powerful words to myself every single day. Yeah. And these words for, I am a ruler. I am peaceful because my mind is stayed on Christ. I keep in step with the Holy Spirit. I'm diligent and skillful. I am wealthy without painful toil. I'm wise, fit, healthy, and fruitful. I make disciples of nations. I make disciples of nations. And I speak that to myself every single day. Yeah. And sometimes I believe it, sometimes I don't believe it. But listen here, I say it every day because I am creating this image of myself, of who I am. I am a ruler.
I love that, but Tabile, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much. That was quite powerful, and I think a great way to kickstart this morning. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
That's transformational coach Tabile Mageti, helping us to remove this imposter syndrome from our lives. It's 9:30 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good morning, guys. We kick off with football news. The World Football's governing body, FIFA Chief Member Associations Officer Elkanah Mamadov, says they have directed Football Association of Zambia, FAZ, to hold its delayed elective annual general meeting within 21 days. Mamadov further says FIFA will send representatives for the reconvened AGM as they did in Livingston. In a letter addressed to FAZ General Secretary Ruben Kamanga, FIFA says the AGM must be held within the stipulated time as guided by FIFA. FIFA has also warned that any recourse to ordinary courts will not be tolerated going forward. And FAZ General Secretary Kamanga says with FIFA informing FAZ on the next step, FAZ will now proceed and issue the notice for the AGM. 5 candidates are vying for the position of FA's president, and they include incumbent Andrew Kamanga, former FA's vice president Emmanuel Munaile, former FA's general secretary Adrian Kashala, and football administrator Keith Mwemba. Still with football news, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says they have no fear of facing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu and will play to win the game despite already holding a 3-0 advantage from the first leg. Last week's victory at the Emirates Stadium, secured by Declan Rice's free kicks and Mikel Merino's third goal, has put Arsenal in a commanding position. Arteta says they have to prove again on the pitch.
172 days or something like this, but it doesn't matter. We have to prove it now in this context, and that's the beauty of it. That's the challenge, and that's the great thing about sports, and that we've shown that we are capable of doing it. That has to give us reassurance and confidence that we can do it. And now let's talk on the pitch and do it on the pitch. It's the only thing that matters. The same mindset, the mindset to win, to be brave, to be dominant, to be determined, and to have the conviction that we can be better than them and win the game.
Real Madrid have only come back from a 3-goal first leg deficit once in their history against Derby County, 6-5 on aggregate in 1975-76 season. Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham was asked about the remontada, the Spanish word for comeback.
Remontada? Honestly, I've heard it about a million times since last week. I've seen a million videos online and made by fans, made by kind of you guys, I suppose, and really motivating stuff. It's a night that's made for Real Madrid, a night that would go down in history, but also be something that people are familiar with around this part of the world. So, hopefully we can add another special night.
On to tennis news. World number 2 Carlos Alcaraz came back from a breakdown in the second set to defeat Ethan Quinn 6-2, 7-6 and 8-6 tie and reached the Barcelona Open last 16. The home favorite, who triumphed at the Monte Carlo Masters last week, stormed through the first set, but Quinn, ranked 126th, battled valiantly in the second. Alcaraz has endured an inconsistent start to the year, crashing out of the Miami Open at the first hurdle in March as he prepares for his French Open title defense. 21-year-old is aiming for a third triumph on the clay in Barcelona after lifting the trophy in 2022 and 2023. He was unable to participate in the last edition because of injury. We wrap up with motor racing. Chairperson of the Kingdom's Automobile and Motorcycle Federation, Prince Khalid bin Sultan Al Abdullah Al Faisal, says owning a Formula One team could be the next step for Saudi Arabia after sponsoring the sport and hosting a Grand Prix. Saudi Arabia first hosted Formula One in 2021, while energy giant Aramco is a global partner of the sport and also title sponsor of the Aston Martin team. Other Middle Eastern countries who host races have ties to Formula One, with the Qatar Investment Authority holding a significant minority stake in the Audi team due to debut next year. The country denies accusation of human rights abuses and says it protects its national security through its laws. For any sports stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fidel Ngwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time.
On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Mushatama.
Hey, it's 36 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African Time. Let's move from our sports and get our latest business news.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thanks to Benjamin, and good morning. South Africa's industrial sector is facing pressure on the back of declining mining production as well as manufacturing production that has also been on the back foot. According to data released by Statistics South Africa, mining was down by 9.6% annually in February, while manufacturing was down 3.2%. Hugo Pinot is chief economist at the Mining Council of South Africa.
The latest figures for real mining production indicate a tough start to 2025, with 9 out of the 12 mining subcategories showing month-on-month output declines for the month of February. As a result, total seasonally adjusted mining production declined by a steep 4.4% during February. This is on a month-on-month basis.
Health professionals in Mozambique have announced that they will down tools tomorrow. They say the strike action will see the professionals only work 8 hours a day and will suspend working on weekends. Milton Malulek reports.
At stake are the demands of the Association of United and the Solidarity Health Professionals of Mozambique, which for 3 years has been asking the government to provide medicines to hospitals, purchase hospital beds, resolve the lack of food, equip ambulance with emergency materials and non-dispensable personnel protective equipment, pay overtime, and improve the framework within the scope of the single salary table.
Canadian gold mining company B2 Gold has announced plans to cut 300 jobs in Namibia this year as it goes ahead with the phased downscaling of operations at its Otjikoto mine after depletion of open pit reserves. The Otjikoto mine produced a record 198,142 ounces of gold last year. Chanduko Legeke has the details.
Open pit mining at the mine is expected to cease this year following the depletion of gold ore, but the company will continue processing stockpiles at least until 2032. The mine's current underground operations are expected to run until 2027, with an extension possible if going exploration successfully uncovers additional mineral deposits. B2 Gold's phased reduction of operations in Namibia began in the first quarter of 2024, with 130 employees laid off during the year.
Algerian energy firm Sonatrach says it has signed 2 memorandums of understanding with U.S. shell company Occidental Petroleum to expand cooperation in hydrocarbon exploration and production in Algeria. The MOUs were signed on Monday on the sidelines of the U.S. Algeria Energy Forum 2025. Sonatrach is the largest company in Africa and a major player in the global energy industry. Oil prices have remained close to a 4-year low. This as concerns about oversupply and tensions in international trade continue to affect the outlook for the oil market. The International Energy Agency has warned that global oversupply might continue into 2026 and drastically lower its 2025 demand prediction. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 603. Botswana 13.76. Kenya 128 shilling 853, and Zambia 28 kwacha 28. The BRICS countries, Brazil's a dollar 5 real 86, in Russia 82 rubles 373, India 85 rupees 76, China 71.30, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 18 rand 93. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold is trading at $3,267, and platinum at $956 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $64.53 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hogu.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. The rhythm of Africa. The pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Jules, baby.
pretty girl where they trouble me, oh. She just a bust my brain. She dey say she want my shit again. She dey twist my brain. Yeah, you sweet girls. Yeah, you turn me up. And I be the grace for your body. So tell me what I've done to you. All I need is got to love for you. Tell me I'm ready for you. Tell me I'm ready for you. Tell me if I'm the one for you. Tell me I'm ready for you. Because of you I sing this song for you. You really know this girl, say this girl. This girl, say this girl. I never told you. I never told you. All this time I told you. When you come skinny, ooh, it's scary. But you give me that ass like a baby. She got that ass like a baby. Ass like a baby. She got that ass like a baby. She got ass like a baby. Give her. You want put it on the table. Ah, give me some of it. Give her. Every time she have a table. Ah, I know what I do. I know my food. I know my food. I know my baby. I know what I do. I know my food. I know my food. I know my baby.
Exclusive from MyTechExtra.com.
Show you why. Show you why. Show you why. Show you why.
Exclusive from MyTechExtra.com.
Hey, the best music on the African continent. That's One Day Call with one titled So Me So. It's 45 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. Thank you for following us on our stream. We've got our stream on Facebook. Thank you to Bright Sonjera. Bright Sonjera is saying, here we are. We will be there. Thank you for being with us there. If you haven't figured out that we are also streaming on social media platforms, you can also do that. And it's also an alternative way of listening to us as well. I know some people have YouTube, like myself, on their television, so you can also just check us out on your television set there and getting our YouTube live stream. All you have to do is check out that handle on YouTube at Channel Africa 1. At Channel Africa 1 is the place to be, and it's a great way to listen to us on YouTube. Remember, we're also on our Facebook stream, as I just mentioned, as I was referring to Bright Sonjera, who was commenting there. So yeah, keep things going. Yeah, we just had a conversation about that imposter syndrome. When you constantly engaging in negative dialogue inside of yourself, I promise you, did you know that that is not the devil? that's your voice.
In fact, you are the devil within. You are the prime saboteur of your own life. Leave the devil out of that.
Leave the devil out of it. It's your responsibility to listen to how you talk to yourself. And at times we're like, the devil is speak to me. Flee, devil. Satan, flee. No, it's actually you that's speaking to yourself. So I was like, let's move this conversation a little bit away from this theme, and maybe we can ask you from a positive perspective, because I was listening to our guest saying, speak to yourself, say things to yourself. And I'm curious, maybe this is the question we should ask, buddy. What are the things that you say to yourself that keep you going? Do you have anything, there must be a one thing that you say to yourself that keeps you going?
100%. I'm a big believer of positive self-talk. I do it like all the time. When I'm at home, even when I'm putting on an outfit, I'll say to myself, wow, you look great. You know what I mean? And I'll turn around. Yes, 100%. I speak to myself all the time. But one of the things that I say I'll do more religiously is whether I'm taking a bath or the one thing that I always say is that I'm abundant, because that gives me the whole world in the palm of my hand. Anywhere or anything that I desire, anything that I want is abundant and available to me. And so that's how I encourage. That's the one phrase that I use to encourage myself all the time is abundance.
Yeah, I've got two phrases, and maybe today I'm sounding a little bit too religious. No, I'm not very religious. I don't know when last I've been into a church building, but there's one fantastic phrase that one of my pastors when I was a young boy taught me. And when you grow up in the hood, you're always trying to find something positive. And one of these pastors used to make us do these wonderful declarations, and my pastor is fantastic, Pastor Patrick Mulutsi, shout out to you. And he used to say, you're above and not beneath. And I thought that was such an all-encompassing statement.
I love that.
And it was like, okay, I'm above, I'm not beneath. I'm above this poverty, I'm above this struggle. Yes, I'm above these obstacles that I'm dealing with in the hood. I'm definitely above, I'm not beneath them. And that's one of my favorite ones. And one of my favorite ones as well, my other one that I learned from home, my mom says all the time, I'm sure every mother says this.
Tell me.
God provides.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think every mother does say that.
God provides.
You're like, you don't have to worry about anything. God provides.
Come on.
Because every little thing is going to be all right.
That's another good one from Bob Marley. What are the things that you say to yourself that keep you going? Give us your thoughts on that one. We'll see if we can put that up on our Facebook and our social media platforms. What is the one thing that you say to yourself that keeps you going? In the meanwhile, you can WhatsApp us on +27 63 406 9126. +27 63 406 9126. Hey, we'll be back with more.
Big news from Channel Africa. Now you can listen and watch your favorite shows on Channel Africa. Channel Africa is streaming live on the internet on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1 from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Central African Time. Download the SABC Plus app or visit our website www.channelafrica.co.za and stream us live on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa now streaming for your eyes and ears only. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Open the fire, play the bed, do let them know. No finish you, no finish you. Man, no fit tire, every day I'm on the road. No limit you, no limit you. This now so good. Would you turn down for who? Would you robo? Many things we can do. Tori, I'm into you. Would you wire for you? Tonight I'll be dancing at the bed away. Give me your hand and shoulder. Cause you should get Blessings for your head up. Jola balaba. Give me your hand and shoulder. But I know go get us. Better go locate us. Jola balaba. Give me your hand and shoulder. Go see show get up. Blessings for your head up. Jola balaba. Give me your hand and shoulder. But I know go get us. Better go locate us. Like I'm like Vuvuzela. No one can do you better. You body fall from me. Why now go shorty? Love the energy tonight. Wake good day my side, but now you day my mind. Now with you don't show. This now unso bunso. Would you turn down for who? Would you robo? Many things we can do. Tori, I'm into you. Would you wire for you? Tonight I'll be dancing at the pen away. Yeah. Jola balaba, give me your hand and shoulder. To see show get up. Blessings for your head up. Jola balaba, give me your hand and shoulder. But I don't go get us. Better go locate us. Jola balaba, give me your hand and shoulder. To see show get up. Blessings for your head up. Jola balaba, give me your hand and shoulder. But I know go get us. Better go locate us.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
Jangwani umepotea, mchana juani unatembea, utokapo ni mbali, uendapo ni mbali. Mara ngamia mbebaji akatokea, kukushusha mzigo na kulemea, upata fadhari pole na safari. And that's what you did to me. Yote tisa ila 10, umeonyesha maana ya upendo, si kwa maneno bali kwa vitendo. Nimeridhika na nilicho nacho, pewa kutolea gimacho, siku nikiwa sina twalala. Oh baby twalala. Ah baby, before I close my eyes, mina muomba Mungu akulinde na kusimamie, wendo pacha wakumie. Eti sikuizi vipi mbona sikusikii tena, sikusikii ukilia, sikusikii ukisema nipo bize na buu, jamani nimeshasema niko bize na baby na msalaba wake nitaubeba, nitaubeba, nitaubeba na nitafika nao kiume, nitaubeba iwe kwenye shida na nitaubeba, kwenye shida na nitaubeba, na kwa kondo langu nitafika nao kiume. Zimia, umewekewa damu zinaingia, bomba ikafunguka na uweza tanyanyuka. Mara daktari wa zamu akaingia, umepata fahamu na mwangalia, machozi yanakuanguka unatamani funguka. And that's what you did to me. Yote tisa ila 10, unanifurahisha kwenye tendo na unipepe za magendo. Ah baby, before I close my eyes, mina muomba Mungu akulinde na kusimamie, wendo
Nipo bize na buu jamani nimeshasema. Niko bize na baby na msalaba wake. Nitaubeba, 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 na nitafika nao kiume. Nitaubeba, kwenye shida nitaubeba, kwenye shida nitaubeba, kwa kondo langu nitafika nao kiume.
That is a gorgeous double play there, giving you the best music on the African continent. And we don't say that lightly, because that's exactly what we do right here on Channel Africa. That's harmonize with the beautiful Nitaubeba. And before that, you heard a beautiful one titled Ijo Laba Laba. That is by Crayon, getting us dancing here on this Wednesday edition of On the Move. It's 58 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. You are listening to On the Move. I want to get your thoughts on this one. What do you say to yourself to encourage yourself? At times you get that negative voice that says, hey, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? Hey, you're still way behind and your peers have moved forward and you just stagnant. There's no way. You know, those voices are always there, right? And you have to kind of go against that grain and just speak positively over yourself. We're interested to know, what do you say to yourself to encourage yourself to feel like, you know what, I can go past this moment in my life? Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406 9126, +27 63 that is 406 9126. Hey, we've got our TikTok feature that's coming up a little bit later on today. But what do you have for us there? I always love these TikTok updates with you.
Yeah, today we're speaking about a term that's relatively new slang term on social media, and it's called crashing out.
Yeah.
And crashing out means like when you're experiencing a huge emotional outburst or acting impulsively due to whatever feelings have overwhelmed you. And that happens, we all get overwhelmed, right? But it seems like there's a huge sort of influx of people crashing out on social media. So during the live video or just on a video and posting it, maybe you're crying.
Okay, you'll tell us later. Don't mess it up. Don't tell us everything about it. Looking forward to finding out what crashing out is. And yeah, man, that should be an interesting one as well. That's coming up in the next hour. We'll get that TikTok update from Palesa Dao. But we want to get your thoughts on, what do you do to motivate yourself? What are the words most specifically that you say to yourself? +27 63 406 9126. It's 1000 hours Central African time. Let's move on to the second hour of On the Move. And to start us off, let's get the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories: a SAWA call for justice against healthcare workers accused of selling human organs in South Africa, and adverts from 6 companies selling liquid BBLs banned in the UK. Good morning, I'm Cholani Tulongwebe. 8 medical professionals accused of attempted murder, fraud and selling of human organs in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa are due in court. The 2 doctors and 6 nurses allegedly harvested organs from unsuspecting patients during surgeries for profit. They are scheduled to appear in the High Court in Gqeberha. The Democratic Nursing Organisation of South Africa, DENOSA, has called on the authorities to ensure that justice is served. DENOSA's provincial chairperson, Vuyolethu Nodlawu.
The NPA and the justice system throughout has to attend to this case. We want to see justice prevail. We want to restore the people's faith to the healthcare system. So we call upon the government and the justice system to dig deeper and strengthen our health system, and including the legislation framework, because we find that those that have been brought to book, many times they tend to run away with it. So that is what we are advocating for while we are looking into the matter, and we are going to follow it precisely.
South Africa's Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has denied claims that the investigation into the rape case of a 7-year-old girl at an Eastern Cape school only started after public activism. He appeared before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police in Cape Town. The committee has urged on the police to give other rape cases as much attention as this case. The 7-year-old learner was allegedly sexually assaulted at a school while waiting for transport in October last year. Mkhulu briefed the committee regarding progress of the investigation.
It is not true that South African police waited until there was this kind of activism while we welcome it. I don't think we should avoid facts, even when there are difficulties. Facts must remain facts. The investigation was started soon after it was reported, as General Masimula reported. Whatever we can say about the investigation, but it's a fact that it was not started after the activism of the public. It was started before.
The inquest into the death of South Africa's liberation struggle stalwart Chief Albert Luthuli continues in the Pietermaritzburg High Court in the KwaZulu-Natal province. His daughter, Wilhelmina Luthuli, will again testify this morning. At the time of his death, Luthuli was the leader of the then-banned African National Congress Party. He won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1960 for spearheading the fight against apartheid. The original inquest found that he was hit by a goods train in Groundville on the KwaZulu-Natal North Coast, but there were no pictures of the scene. Wilhelmina Luthuli has told the inquest the family has no doubt that their home was closely watched by the apartheid security police.
One would wake up and find a car standing near the hedge. Policemen, black and white, would be seated in the vehicle, just watching our home. If we had a visitor at home, a few minutes later, a special branch police vehicle would be parked outside. There was no doubt that we were watched.
Sudan's paramilitaries have declared the formation of a rival government to the country's armed forces. Yesterday marked 2 years since the start of the war that has become the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The leader of the Rapid Support Forces, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, said the group was, quote, building the only realistic future for Sudan. Fighting raged on, with the army saying it had bombed RSF positions outside the city of Al-Fasher, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee the Zamzam refugee camp. And finally, adverts from 6 companies selling liquid Brazilian butt lifts or BBLs have been banned in the UK for trivializing the risks and exploiting women's insecurities around body image. The Advertising Standards Authority says all the companies appeared on Facebook and Instagram and used time-limited deals to irresponsibly pressurize customers into booking. Liquid BBLs involve injecting fillers into the buttocks to lift them and make them look bigger or rounded. Recapping the top story this hour, 8 medical professionals accused of attempted murder, fraud and selling of human organs in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa are due in court. The 2 doctors and 6 nurses allegedly harvested organs from unsuspecting patients during surgeries for profit. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It's a beautiful Wednesday morning here in Johannesburg, South Africa, and we are enjoying spending our time with you right here on Channel Africa. It's 6 minutes past 10 Central Africa time. We are in the second hour of On the Move right here on Channel Africa with myself, Palesa Tau, and Benjamin Moshatama. The train is moving swiftly, so hopefully you are on this ride and certainly enjoying this morning with us. We are certainly enjoying it with you as well. While we continue with the conversations of the morning, we have a feature called called Live Well. It's a health feature, of course, looking at all things health. And it's the Easter weekend, right? It's around the corner. The week is here already, and a lot of people are excited. I know so many people who observe this Christian holiday period are excited for not just the sentimental value of the week, but also the food. That's a huge part of Easter, right? The food, the chocolates, the fish, and all the other festivities that have to do with the food. But unfortunately for women living with what we call polycystic ovary syndrome, also known as PCOS or PCOS, this time of year can be particularly tricky to navigate when it comes to what they eat. So we're going to be chatting about that in this hour of the show. A clinical dietitian, Palesa Malega, will be joining us on the line to speak about some PCOS-friendly recipes and nutrition ideas to help women enjoy the festivities without compromising their health.
Okay, help us understand, what is PCOS?
I actually don't really know, but all I know is that it's a hormonal condition that can affect women, and it can actually give them multiple ovarian cysts. So that's as much as I know.
Okay.
I personally do not have it, and I don't know any people who are very close to me who do, but I do know quite a lot of women who suffer from PCOS. I'm looking forward to learning more as well.
Yeah, and we're also going to stay with the health theme in the third hour of the show. We're going to be looking at unpacking the state of critical illness care across the African continent. We'll be speaking to Dr. Karima Khalid, who is a lecturer, researcher, and consultant of critical care at the Unihimbi University of Health and Allied Sciences in Tanzania. We're going to unpack what is called the African Critical Illness Outcomes Study. I was in critical care just recently, just a few weeks back, and we had this debate yesterday about the story. And critical care in Africa, you'll find yourself in situations where you don't want to find yourself, because I just don't think we're prioritizing public health as a continent. We just think it's like an afterthought. It's like another thing, and we just don't think sustaining the health of African citizens is important. And that's where it's tested when it comes to critical care. When you get those needs for specialists in different fields and they're not available, you're like, where is the cardiologist in this hospital? No, they're not here. They're like 2 towns away. And that's one thing that we're going to be looking at, unpacking what is called the African Critical Illness Outcome Study, which gives us a bit of a large-scale look at the state of critical illness care across the continent. Hey, let's keep things going. Remember, our stream is going on our Facebook page and also on our Instagram page as well as YouTube. All you have to do is look for at Channel Africa 1 on YouTube and Instagram, and simply titled Channel Africa is our Facebook page, where you can also check out that particular stream. So we also want to know, what do you say to yourself when you are trying to encourage yourself, when you're trying to make it through a very difficult day? What is that one thing that motivates you to keep going? When we hear it, I promise you it's going to encourage the rest of us as well. Give us your thoughts on that question. +27 63 406 9126. +27 63 406 9126 is our WhatsApp number, where you can text us or voice note us. Hey, let's get going and find out what our wellness feature has for us today. Looking forward to Live Well.
Big news from Channel Africa. Now you can listen and watch your favorite shows on Channel Africa. Channel Africa is streaming live on the internet on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1 from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Central African Time. Download the SABC Plus app or visit our website www.channelafrica.co.za and stream us live on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa now streaming for your eyes and ears only. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get set and be ready to go. On the move with Palesa and Benjamin Mushatama.
Well, it's a very special week and weekend ahead for so many Africans across the African continent and people across the world as well. That's Easter week for the people or the Christian people who observe the week of Easter all across the continent. There's really millions and millions of them. And it's not just a week of observing, the Christian culture and, all those religious aspects of it, but it's also a time for food. There's so many food traditions around this time of the year. A weekend filled with chocolate, eggs, indulgent lunches, fish and carbs, and lots of delicious food. But unfortunately, for women living with something called polycystic ovary syndrome or PCOS, this time of the year can be particularly tricky to navigate when it comes to what they eat. PCOS is an endocrine or hormonal condition that can cause multiple ovarian cysts, abnormal hair growth, inflammation, and other symptoms. And people with polycystic ovary syndrome are more likely to have obesity, systematic inflammation, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and many, many more conditions that are associated with PCOS. We're speaking on the line today with clinical dietitian Palesa Malika, who's joining us on the line to speak about some PCOS-friendly recipe and nutrition ideas to help women who suffer from PCOS enjoy the festivities of Easter without compromising their health. Thank you so much, Palesa, for your time. From one Palesa to another, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'd like to call you Bito.
Yes, Bito. That's a South African thing. If you have the same name as someone else, we're like, hey, my namesake, Bito.
Yeah, it's actually namesake.
Yes, yeah, that's my namesake. So, let's speak about this, right? First of all, I think a lot of people don't even know what PCOS or polycystic ovary syndrome is. So, let's start there. What really is this?
Okay, so as you have mentioned, it's a common hormonal disorder in women of reproductive age. I think that is very important to highlight that it does not happen in kids, but also from the teenage age until around 40, and mostly like 45 now in this new age. And it is characterized by a hormonal imbalance, as we've mentioned, and these are a lot of hormones that we have in our bodies, but mainly the two ones that we focus on or that we see that a lot of women suffer from is one, insulin, and then the other two is a hormone that is found in men. And with people with PCOS, we see that it is quite high, which is the reason why they would have infertility issues.
Well, it's surprising. Why are we speaking about a health issue, and associating it with a holiday time? What does PCOS or PCOS have to do with food?
I think we need to, just as we have explained a bit now, then we need to go back a little bit to say if you have PCOS, and we also have to keep in mind that as we speak about this condition, a lot of women who are sitting there back at home actually don't even know that they have one, because according to WHO, it says up to 70% of women in the world still remain undiagnosed. So I would like to actually speak a little bit of the symptoms, just that if anybody could be actually experiencing this and they're not maybe diagnosed as of yet, but now let's just say if you experience symptoms or any of the following, like if you've got insulin resistance, number one, and also if you also have diabetes as well, that is number two. What we're going to talk about today can also be very effective for someone like that. And also somebody with endometriosis, number 2, and for people with IBS, and then something that is very common, which are fibroids. And I'm going to talk about a little bit of a story about me. I'm a dietitian, but I share a lot of personal information to help a lot of women out there. A few years back, I was diagnosed with fibroids, but at first, it was actually misdiagnosed. I was misdiagnosed. I knew that I've got fibroids all along. And a few years later, I saw a gynecologist, and they told me that I actually have PCOS. So this is also something that I've been living with for quite some time. So I know all of those things. So for any woman out there, how would they know that they have PCOS? Please go see a gynae if you have any of those symptoms. I just wanted to get that out clear very quickly.
I love that because as a dietitian, you're also speaking from your personal perspective and your experiences as well. So let's speak about the food, right? This weekend and essentially any weekend that has festivities anywhere in the world will be filled with lots of food, and not just any food, a lot of indulgent food. So there'll be carbs galore, there'll be meat galore, there'll be lots of sweet treats, which are part of a huge Easter tradition, the chocolates and the chocolate eggs that people will continue to indulge on. Why is this a tricky time for someone who has PCOS?
Somebody with PCOS, they've got elevated insulin, which is a hormone that is responsible for using energy from food, right? That's number 1. So now what happens is that if you've got high insulin controls glucose levels in the body, and then in the blood, that is. Glucose is what? It's sugar, right? So sugar, the body recognizes, sugar as glucose in the body. Mm-hmm. So now people that eat a lot of carbohydrates are in danger, number 2, for diabetes. And if your glucose levels are elevated, then you're going to experience things like side effects. It's like you feel very dizzy, you're going to be very tired, and all of that. And this is why eating a lot of sugar during this time can be very detrimental to one's health. So number 1, this is why sugar would be a no-no for anybody with PCOS.
Oh, no. That's no fun. What about the Easter eggs?
And I think this is why we need to be very careful, because we also speak about, I don't remember seeing an Easter egg that says, sugar-free Easter egg. Is there something like that? Right? Or anything that says low sugar Easter egg. So I would urge anybody with PCOS, because we've done a lot of work to be where we are, to say that do not eat, not even one, okay, unless if maybe you've got like a bit of a dark chocolate. That's number 1. At least you can have something like that. If there is an Easter egg out there, I'm not sure if there is out of dark chocolate, you can indulge in a little bit of some soft chocolate. Okay. But people should also be very careful of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are the danger.
Oh, that's also the best part. Well, stay on the line. We need to take a break, Palesa, but I want us to continue speaking about some of those PCOS-friendly recipes, recipe ideas that can really help someone with, a woman with PCOS to really enjoy the festivities as well, and not just sit on the sidelines and eat a salad while everyone else eats all the delicious stuff. It's 20 minutes past 10 Central Africa time, and we're speaking about PCOS, but also PCOS-friendly recipes that you can also enjoy during this Easter period. Let's take a break. We'll be back after this.
Vue d'Afrique avec Joël Mouteba.
C'est-à-dire, quelles sont les motivations derrière la décision du général Mamadi Doumbouya d'accorder la grâce présidentielle à Moussa Dadis Camara?
Alors, officiellement ici, c'est pour des raisons de santé, et puis le PK aussi a ajouté que c'est dans un élan de réconciliation nationale et c'est un cas social. Mais au-delà de ça, les analystes ils voient sous un angle politique. Les moins critiques estiment que c'est pour peut-être faciliter un petit peu la réconciliation que pourrait tenter aujourd'hui le CNSD.
Vue d'Afrique, du lundi au vendredi de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa on the move.
20 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. Thank you for listening to us right here on Channel Africa. And thank you to our brother from Malawi, Kondwani Namwasauka, who says, I am listening to Channel Africa. Thank you so much, Kondwani, for joining us there on our live stream on Facebook. You are listening to us on DSTV Channel 802, OpenView 628. And remember, on www.channelafrica.co.za. Today we're speaking for the ladies, and this is an important one. We're speaking about something not many people know about. It's called polycystic ovary syndrome, also known as PCOS, and it is an endocrine or hormonal condition that can cause multiple ovarian cysts, abnormal hair growth, inflammations, and other symptoms. And today we're speaking about, rich food can really mess up with our health, and especially now because we're going into the festivities of Easter. Clinical dietitian Palesa Maleka is joining us to talk a little bit about PCOS friendly recipes. Let's continue the conversation there in terms of what to look out for, because the carbs and the sugars, they don't just affect those with PCOS, but many of us. But we're speaking about PCOS specifically in terms of making sure that you know your own dietary needs when you have PCOS. What should you be doing also to strategically create a system that works for you personally, because we all can have the same condition but respond to it very differently, Palesa?
I think also I want to go just a little bit on the food side, that when we tell people eat healthy, don't eat, people feel isolated. For one, let's say at home this weekend there's going to be braais, there's going to be cooking and all of that. I think even besides having to disclose to people that I am not well, I have this, because most families don't even know that maybe their mothers and their sisters have this. So someone would be like, okay, but then if I just drastically change my diet in front of my family. So it could be another way of just saying, oh, I want to introduce a healthy living, or in our family, so I want us to swap things a little bit. So if we're going to talk about food, and this is where somebody can just come in and say, this is much more healthier, we need to take care of our health, besides them having to come out and say, oh, I'm sick, because that can, make people scared, for instance. So we need to focus on food that are very high in fiber. Fiber, it is very important, number one, that it regulates our gut, our GIT, so that we can be able to do number two. And also, fiber plays a very big role when it comes to weight management, which is a very big factor when it comes to people with PCOS, right? Because most of them have got obesity, and also, again, they struggle with diabetes mellitus type 2.
Let's go back a little bit to primary school. Fiber, what kind of vegetables and fruits would be those?
We have two different types of fibers, which is soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. What does that mean? The other ones, it's soluble in water, and two is not. So fiber, you find it in green leafy vegetables. So this is where you have your spinach, your cabbages, and all of that. So most vegetables have got fiber. But when we're looking into the carb side of it, which is the carbohydrates, which is what we're speaking about today because of PCOS, so you do find fiber in most carbohydrates, stuff like your potatoes. But if you remove the skin of potatoes, then you're removing the fiber. So I would advise that even if you make a mashed potato, do not remove the skin, because you're removing the good of it. So fiber, you do find it in potatoes, sweet potatoes, but on the skin. And then you also find it on your broccolis, anything green leafy vegetables, you're fine with that. And also you find it in most fruits, especially green apples and pears.
Fantastic. Okay. Yeah. What other ingredients do you think we can incorporate? Because you were focusing as well on fiber, and I interrupted you. Sorry to do that, but you were going on the steam train that was really moving quickly. Yes. And I wanted to get other forms of advice that you can help those who are struggling with PCOS syndrome.
Okay, a diet high in fiber, as I mentioned, you're going to find it in whole grains, which are your brown rice, brown bread, brown pastas. Okay, so and then legumes, which are your beans. Any type of beans would be amazing. It is very important also to look into lean protein, which is very low in fat because of the anti-inflammatory effects of it. So this are fish that is high in omega-3.
Okay.
It could be tin fish, salmon, and all of that. The most important parts to avoid coffee, avoid alcohol, avoid sugar, and avoid high fatty foods, which are your fried chips and your fried meat.
Sounds like all the fun stuff that you say avoid. But no, actually, let's change that kind of thinking, because that's one of my challenge. I was in the hospital very recently, and I was instructed to change my lifestyle diet, and it's a lot of things. But the first thing that comes up when you do have to change your lifestyle is you naturally think that I'm not going to do the fun stuff. I'm not going to have coffee. I'm not going to have my booze anymore. I'm going to live this boring life. That's exactly what I thought personally. But could you help us shift from that very small way of looking at lifestyle changes?
Can I speak from a personal perspective from
Sure.
this?
Yes,
and
please.
I'm saying this because I always say before professional first. I'm a human being first. I'm a woman first. Secondly, again, I'm a person also who struggles with weight because of other health conditions that I have. So realistically speaking, I always give a simple example of living a balanced life. And even when we say to you, live a balanced life, and a balanced life is it does not mean that you are at the gym Monday to Monday. A balanced life means that you exercise at least 3 to 4 times a week. And when you exercise, you actually exercise at least for 30 minutes to an hour. That is realistic. And when we're saying eat healthy or eat like a balanced meal, we're talking at least 80%, 80-20. And what do I mean about that? Let me make it very simple. So you're supposed to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And if your breakfast is high in fiber, you've already clocked in on fiber. And if your lunch, you're going to have some chicken and some veggies and some chips. And when I say some chips, and somebody's going to raise eyebrows, but there are healthier ways to make chips, right? You can even make chips by using an air fryer. They literally taste the same as the ones that you make.
Yeah, they do, absolutely.
Right? They actually do. So there are alternatives of foods that are unhealthy that you use to actually enjoy. You can make the healthy alternative, and they could actually taste and the same. You don't have to stop altogether everything that you're doing, but work on the 80-20 rule and work on your balance, because life, it is to be enjoyed. And if you do enjoy a chocolate once in a while, I would say it is okay to have it at least once in a while. But if you like it that much, then at least you need to get the healthier alternative, which would be your dark chocolate instead, just to give a few examples. And when it comes to alcohol, some red wine once in a while would not hurt, but portion control is where we lose it.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about going back to PCOS, because it is something that really affects the reproductive system of women. What kind of stereotypes would you like to break? Just 2, because we have to move on now, but because there's a lot of stereotype when it comes to anything that has to do with the reproductive system, or especially of women specifically. What's that one thing, rather, because we're running out of time, that you'd like to debunk?
And this is why I mentioned earlier that sometimes coming back home and telling someone, or my gynae, or even when you mention to even friends or family and say, I'm going to see a gynae, the first thing that they're going to say, what is wrong with you? So a lot of women do not come out to say that I've got this and this and this because of the stigma. So the stigma that is surrounding PCOS is that you cannot have kids, which is not true. From years, it may be difficult, but not everyone with PCOS is infertile. So those are some of the stigmas that we need to remove around. And also, not everyone with PCOS is like a life-ending disease. No, it's not. It can still be fixed with a healthy diet, controlling your weight and any of those things. But the most important part of it is that also people with PCOS, I've heard something recently, it's like, oh, that's because you're on contraceptives, or and then there's a stigma around contraceptives as well. So women end up stopping, taking contraceptives because of other issues that are associated with it.
All right, thank you for helping debunk that notion there. And it is one that needs also other elements of investigation because it is a big subject matter. But thank you for helping us cover it from a diet perspective, Palesa. Where can people find you online?
I am Dietitian Palesa on Instagram. That is our only account. And for those who have got inquiries or anything, they can WhatsApp 067-6012-868, and then they'll get all. And then also I'm based at 134 Grayson Drive, which is UNAD, for any face-to-face consultations.
Of course, that number includes the country number in South Africa, +27, if you want to be in touch with Palesa. Thank you so much, Palesa, for joining us.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Well, that's clinical dietitian Palesa Maleka, who was helping us find some PCOS-friendly ways of dealing with the festivities and the food that we're going to be eating during this Easter weekend. It's a big one, so be sure that you take care of yourselves. Not only those with PCOS, but some of us who really need to take care of our health. Let's do that as well. It's 10:30. Let's move on and get the latest sports update from Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We kick off with football news. The Kenya President William Ruto has challenged the leadership and managers of the Kenyan football to raise the game's profile to international standards. The president called on football officials to end managerial issues that have long plagued the sport, stunting its growth for years. President Ruto made the remarks when he flagged off the Harambee Stars team heading for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations tournament in Egypt from the 27th of April to the 18th of May. Kenya has been placed in Group B together with continental soccer giants Nigeria, Morocco and Tunisia. The president said the Kenyan team has already made history by being the first to qualify for the competition. Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says they have no fear of facing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu tonight and will play to win the game despite already holding a 3-0 advantage from the first leg. Last week's victory at the Emirates Stadium, secured by Declan Rice's free kicks and Mikel Arteta Merino's third goal, has put Arsenal in a commanding position. Arteta says they have to prove again on the pitch.
172 days or something like this, but it doesn't matter. We have to prove it now in this context, and that's the beauty of it. That's the challenge, and that's the great thing about sports, and that we've shown that we are capable of doing it. That has to give us reassurance and confidence that we can do it. And now let's talk on the pitch and do it on the pitch. It's the only thing that matters. The same mindset, the mindset to win, to be brave, to be dominant, to be determined, and to have the conviction that we can be better than them and win the game.
Real Madrid have only come back from a 3-goal first leg deficit once in their history against Derby County 6-5 on aggregate in 1975 and 76 season. Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham was asked about remontada, the Spanish word for comeback.
Remontada? Obviously, I've heard it about a million times since last week. I've seen a million videos online and made by fans, made by kind of you guys, I suppose, and really motivating stuff. It's a night that's made for Real Madrid, a night that would go down in history, but also be something that people are familiar with around this part of the world. So, hopefully we can add another special night.
Tennis news. The British number 3 Cameron Norrie has suffered a first-round exit at the Barcelona Open as he prepares for the start of the French Open this month. Norrie, now ranked 88th in the world rankings and who came through qualifying in Barcelona, was beaten 6-7, 3-7, 6-4 and 6-3 by 27th ranked Karen Khachanov of Russia. Former Wimbledon semi-finalist Norrie saved a set point on his way to winning the first set on a tie break and led 4-3 with a break in the second. But Khachanov came back to progress in 2 hours and 18 minutes and will face Joan Munar of Spain in the next round. And chairperson of the Kingdom Automobile and Motorcycle Federation, Prince Khalid bin Sultan Al Abdullah Al Faisal, says owning a Formula One team could be the next step for Saudi Arabia after sponsoring the sport and hosting a Grand Prix. Saudi Arabia first hosted Formula One in 2021, while energy giant Aramco is a global partner of the sport and also title sponsor of the Aston Martin team. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figure Lengwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
My name is Neto, N-E-T-O Chamani. Osiatiko, Nengezimo, Mkhanju, Phandle kunjani moyani. Voko tendele. Africa at Play, asteleli siyashaya. Africa's velvet voice is in the house. Africa at Play is a place to be, where we speak all things sport and music, from the African continent to the rest of the world. We speak to your bundles of joy in sport, 12-year-olds and below, teenagers in sport. And we speak to elite athletes, administrators, coaches, and all the behind-the-scenes stakeholders of sport and music. Africa at Play, asteleli siyashaya. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Keeping you on the know and on the move.
Hey, let's bring in our business news now to find out what are the latest in economic updates.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thanks to Benjamin and good morning. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended the Eastern Cape Province for the investment projects it has initiated to boost the micro and macro economies of the country through its ports. Ramaphosa had been on an oversight visit to the province where he was briefed on the performance of the Kruger Special Economic Zone, one of the best performing SEZs in the country. The port has employed around 300,000 people since its inception in 1999. Ramaphosa says that there is so much potential for economic growth. South Africa's industrial sector is facing pressure on the back of declining mining production as well as manufacturing production that has also been on the back foot. According to data released by Statistics South Africa, mining was down by 9.6% annually in February, while manufacturing was down 3.2%. Hugo Pienaar is chief economist at the Mining Council of South Africa.
The latest figures for real mining production indicate a tough start to 2025, with 9 out of the 12 mining subcategories showing month-on-month output declines for the month of February. As a result, total seasonally adjusted mining production declined by a steep 4.4% during February. This is on a month-on-month basis.
Health professionals in Mozambique have announced that they will down tools tomorrow. They say the strike action will see the professionals only work 8 hours a day and will suspend working on weekends. Milton Malulek reports.
At stake are the demands of the Association of United and Solidarity Health Professionals of Mozambique, which for 3 years has been asking the government to provide medicines to hospitals, purchase hospital beds, resolve the lack of food, equip ambulance with emergency materials and non-dispensable personal protective equipment, pay overtime, and improve the framework within the scope of the single salary table.
Canadian gold mining company B2 Gold has announced plans to cut 300 jobs in Namibia this year as it goes ahead with the phased downscaling of operations at its Otjikoto mine after depletion of open pit reserves. The Otjikoto mine produced a record 198,142 ounces of gold last year. This is as Chanduko Likeke reports.
Open pit mining at the mine is expected to cease this year following the depletion of gold ore, but the company will continue processing stockpiles at least until 2032. The mine's current underground operations are expected to run until 2027, with an extension possible if going exploration successfully uncovers additional mineral deposits. B2 Gold's phased reduction of operations in Namibia began in the first quarter of 2024, with 130 employees laid off during the year.
China's National Bureau of Statistics says that the country's economy grew by 5.4% in the first quarter of this year. The figure aligns with the Chinese government's annual growth target of around 5% this year. Analysts expect Chinese growth to slow in the second quarter as U.S. President Donald Trump's steep tariffs on China take into effect. The BBC's Katie Silver has the details.
That beat expectations, which were more around the 5.1% mark. But what it does suggest is perhaps something called front loading is going on. Basically, people buying up, or businesses buying up Chinese products ahead of the imposition of hefty tariffs, which of course had been flagged by President Trump before he came into office. The other factor, of course, that we must remember is that these statistics do come from Beijing, and analysts and economists don't always come to the same numbers.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 603, Botswana 13 pula 76, Kenya 128 shilling 853, and Zambia 28 kwacha 28. The BRICS countries in Brazil, the dollar is trading at 5 real 86. In Russia, 82 rubles 373. India, 85 rupees 76. China, 7 yuan 30. And in South Africa, the dollar will cost you 18 rand 93. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold, $3,267, and platinum at $956 per ounce. Brand crude oil is at $64.53 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Huku.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
zochitika ndi madaphiri kamlondola wa zochitika pena paliponse.
Aphungu a nyumba ya malamulo mu dziko la Malawi akuchita zokambirana zawo pa zinthu zosiyanasiyana pambuyo pa nyumbayi kutsegulidwa masiku apitawo, ndipo Kondani Nyamasa ukali nafe pompano chiyambireni aphungu akukambirana masiku apitawo ndi zovuta ziti zomwe zachitika mu nyumba imeneyi ya malamulo.
Ndingathe kunena kuti State of National Address imene a President Dr. Lazarus Chakwera akhala kuipereka mnyumba ya malamulo imeneyi idautsa mpungwepungwe kwambiri nyumbayi, chifukwa pofika panopa mene ndikuyankhula pano ndiye kuti munafuna kubuka ndewu mnyumbayi. Leader of the house olemekezeka Richard Kimwendo Banda kuyimirira kuyankha koma mopsa mtima zimene amayankhula phungu oyimira ku Blantyre City South East Osama Suleiman kunena kuti sona imene adapereka president pa 14 February ikuonetsa kuti palibe chilichonse cha zero chimene chidaperekedwa musona imeneyi, akuti imene ayichotse.
zochitika ndi madaphiri lolemba mpaka lachisanu pa nthawi ya 7 koloko kufikira 8 koloko madzulo pa Channel Africa.
The rhythm of Africa, the pulse of the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
That's
Hey, man,
MFR
that's- oh,
Souls.
okay, cool. All right.
Tutor
All right.
the Human
Yeah.
and DJ Maphorisa featuring Charlie. This one is titled Azishe.
Hey man, it's fire indeed. Thank you for joining us on DSTV Channel 802, OpenView 628 on www.channelafrica.co.za. Thank you to Fran Mdleleni from Cape Town for listening to us. I think she was enjoying that live stream when we were talking about mantras that keep us moving when life gets tough. She says, good morning, my favorite people. You are our favorite person, Fran.
Yes,
You're
you
always
are.
listening to us. So thank you so much. Thank you for listening to us from Kapstad. That's Cape Town, South Africa. It's 48 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. And I wanted to get your thoughts on what is that mantra? What is that one thing that you say to yourself just to keep you going, just to feel like you're alive? And I've got some few comments that I'll let you know what people are saying a little bit later on. I want to get your thoughts on that one. Remember, we still have our WhatsApp number open to you, and you can send us your voice notes. You can send us also your text on that one. What is that one thing that you say to yourself when you hear negative voices, when you hear people saying, you're not good enough, when you hear yourself as well feeling like, I'm a bit tired, I've lost inspiration? How do you motivate yourself? Do you have that one line? What was yours, Pali, earlier?
Abundance.
Abundance.
I am abundant.
You are abundant. I say I'm above and not beneath. Those are our two mantras that we utilize. There's one that I'm sure that every mother tells their kids when maybe you just like going through and you're like, Mom, what's your advice? God provides. It's always the one, right? You always hear it all the time. Like, Mom, that you've told me that so many times, but actually, as you grow and you get older and you live through life, you find out that assertion, that affirmation actually works. What's your personal affirmation that you say to yourself that keeps you going? Want to hear it from you. +27 63406 9126. Want to get your thoughts on that one. Remember, we're still live on multiple platforms. We've got our live streaming that's happening on our Facebook page. All you have to do to find Channel Africa on Facebook is search for Channel Africa. It's very simple there on Facebook. And then if you are on our Instagram page, we're also on that @Channel Africa 1 handle, and our live stream is also there. And don't forget that we're also on YouTube. Our YouTube handle is also @Channel Africa 1. Hello, everybody. I'm raising my hands. I'm waving out at you out there in the world, on the African continent, and even beyond. Thank you for joining us on our online stream.
We are up. We are ready. We are on the move with Palesa and Benjamin Mushatama on Channel Africa.
It's 10:50 Central Africa time, and of course we're taking a look at what's going on TikTok. You know, every now and then we take a look at what the other things that I've discovered on that social media platform. Well, there's a new word that's making the rounds on social media. It's not particularly a new word, but it's definitely a new slang term that's been spoken more and more about on the socials, and this word is called crashing out, right? And crashing out is really about having an emotional outburst or acting impulsively. And look, sometimes we all have crash outs. That's normal life, right? We go through various things, and sometimes we have those emotional outbursts if we're not well regulated. But it seems like more and more people are crashing out on social media. Right?
Okay.
And
sounds very dodgy. I don't believe it. I'm very pessimistic about people who crash out on social. I'll tell you why later.
Yeah. And a lot of people actually find themselves crashing out on social media where they feel overwhelmed or triggered. You'll find people crying on social media, screaming, or whatever the case may be. But if you want to sort of figure out a little bit more, learn a little bit more about what crashing out means in terms of the social media slang, listen to this.
So let's talk about what is a crash out. So I looked it up on the dictionary, and it basically said that it's someone that will risk their future without thinking about the consequences. But I pretty much summed it up into 3 different levels of what actually crashing out is. First level of crashing out, you have your text messages. You may text a person, multiple text messages going off on them. You may call them going off on them. You may yell at them. You may just go off on them. That's the first level. Second level is going to be your going on social media, talking crap about people, going live, exposing people's business. This is referring to one-sided situations too. I wanted to throw that in. But that is the second level. The third level of crashing out is any form of violence. You're vandalizing people's property. You're hurting them.
And so, as you can hear, this particular social media person says, hey, these are some of the ways in which people crash out. And yes, some of them happen outside of the social media space. But of course, we are seeing people actually crashing out on social media. And just last week, there is a South African influencer. She's got a lot of numbers, on TikTok, 1.3 million followers on TikTok and many others on her other social media platforms. She's an influencer and a DJ. Her name is Cyan Bougie. And recently, after a night out, she came back home and went live on TikTok and Instagram, and then she ended up crashing out. And this is a short clip of what that sounded like.
Sounds aggro.
Yeah, sounds like a lot, right? And meanwhile, she was speaking to her dog. Imagine. And then she started crashing out and she started screaming and she started acting frantically on the live. And of course, people love it on social media. Here's the thing, right? Because there's a really short space between, having an emotional outburst. Some people cry, maybe have an emotional moment on social media. Some people start vandalizing things. Some people are screaming, as we heard on that clip. And if you see what happens on the live, it actually gets more numbers coming in. And people are like, what's going on? Is she crashing out? People save the live, and everyone on the other platform say, hey, go to TikTok or Instagram and go see Cyan Bougie is crashing out over there.
Yeah, I don't buy it. I really don't buy it. I'll tell you my problem with this, Bali, is that I do not like false or exaggerated mental health outbursts on social media.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very toxic, number one, because you're probably underrating someone else's real experience, right? And the thing is, screaming at your dog can't be cheapened to a mental health situation.
But let's hear, she says it is a mental health situation. And my issue with that is that how do we know if people are actually going through these things on social or in their lives, and they just happen to play out on social media? So we don't know the story behind these people. We don't know some of these people personally, and we cannot say that they're cheapening the experiences of others because we don't know what their actual experiences are.
Well, I can,
but
let's listen.
This was her explanation, right? So you heard the clip of Cyan Bougie crashing out first, and then the next morning she went live and she posted another video explaining this particular crash out. Listen to this.
Yeah, I crashed out, yes. It must happen once. I drank so much last night, I went for margaritas. And I didn't know I'm that depressed after I saw that live video. And you know what? It happens. So while I prepare, I'm going to give you guys a story time of one of the things that did traumatize me that I feel like I haven't gotten over. The other worst thing about crashing...
And that's the thing, right? So she says the explanation is, I actually didn't realize. I went out, had some drinks, had a good time, had some margaritas.
Sure.
I came home and I went live, which she usually does, right? She's a social media influencer. She lives a lot of her life on social media. And she says, and I actually didn't realize that I was still depressed. And there is a traumatic trigger that happened to me, which caused my crash out. Of course, we didn't go through the entire story of this particular traumatic moment.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. She says it's attributed to her actual mental health issues.
I have a problem with that as well. Her explanation that conveniently happens the next day is that, number one, it's self-diagnosing. And you cannot...
You don't know that. Maybe she has been diagnosed with depression. You're not sure.
No, she's self-diagnosing her moment. I'm not talking about her mental illness. I'm saying it's self-diagnosing, number one, right? And she hasn't been to a practitioner yet to find out whether it's actually crashing out. I also have a problem with crashing out. This is just my personal opinion as a term, is that we must stop creating terms on social media that further perpetuate certain stereotypes around mental health.
And we've had a conversation like that,
I think the
haven't
term
we?
crashing out, it makes people feel like you're falling for a particular trap in terms of the stigmas around mental health.
I hear that.
And it sounds very unhealthy to say a mental moment, having a mental condition or something that's happening to you at a moment is called crashing out.
Yeah.
I have a few problems on that, and I know these things are trends that are happening online, and I'm just giving you some commentary on that. In the meanwhile, thank you to Avance Johanne, who is streaming us live. Hello, thank you for joining us on our live Facebook stream. Thank you for joining us as well. We also have Abel Mwale, who joins us as well on our live stream. Hey, hi as well to the Botswana Congress Party that has also joined us on our live stream.
Hi, Botswana Congress Party.
Our neighbors right there. What are your thoughts on this one? We want to get your thought on what you think about this crashing out trend that's taking place on social media. Bali, what's your take?
Yeah, look, I think, personally, I wouldn't do it, right? But that's the thing, right? Crashing out is exactly that, right? A moment in which you supposedly have no control over. So whether people do it or not, and whether it's performative or not is something that I personally don't think I can have judgment on, because I would not know if this particular person is intentionally crashing out or they were on live like anybody would, and they actually had an outburst, an emotional moment, or even a mental health moment that they had no control over at that particular time. I agree with you though when you say that the term crashing out itself does create certain stigmas with real mental health issues, and that's something that social media seems to do quite a lot. But let's hear from you at Channel Africa 1. Find us there and let us know what you think about crashing out and people crashing out, particularly on social media. Text us on +27 63 406 9126. You can also comment on any of our live streams on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube to let us know your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's 10 o'clock. No, it's 11 o'clock right now. We're moving into the final hour of the show, moving speedily. So we have 2 hours in the bag behind us. We have 1 hour to go. Let's find out what Jwalane has for us in our latest news. It's 1100 hours Central African time.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Top stories: a SAWA call for justice against healthcare workers accused of selling human organs in South Africa, and the UK Supreme Court expected to deliver its verdict on how a woman should be defined in law. Good morning. 8 medical professionals accused of attempted murder, fraud and selling human organs in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa are due in court. The 2 doctors and 6 nurses allegedly harvested organs from unsuspecting patients during surgeries for profit. They are scheduled to appear in the High Court in Gqeberha. The Democratic Nursing Organisation of South Africa, DENOSA, has called on the authorities to ensure that justice is served. DENOSA's provincial chairperson, Vuyolethu Nodlawu.
The NPA and the justice system throughout has to attend to this case. We want to see justice prevail. We want to restore the people's faith to the healthcare system. So we call upon the government and the justice system to dig deeper and strengthen our health system, and including the legislation framework, because we find that those that have been brought to book, many a times they tend to run away with it. So that is what we are advocating for while we are looking into the matter, and we are going to follow it precisely.
South Africa's Police Minister Senzo Mchunu has denied claims that the investigation into the rape case of a 7-year-old girl at an Eastern Cape school only started after public activism. He appeared before Parliament's Portfolio Committee on Police in Cape Town. The committee has urged police to give other rape cases as much attention as the case. The 7-year-old learner was allegedly sexually assaulted at her school while waiting for transport in October last year. Mchunu briefed the committee regarding progress of the investigation.
It is not true that South African police waited until there was this kind of activism while we welcome it. I don't think we should avoid facts, even when there are difficulties. Facts must remain facts. The investigation was started soon after it was reported, as General Masimula reported. Whatever we can say about the investigation, but it's a fact that it was not started after the activism of the public. It was started before.
Sudan's paramilitaries have declared the formation of a rival government to the country's armed forces. Yesterday marked 2 years since the start of the war that has become the world's largest humanitarian crisis. The leader of the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, said the group was, quote, building the only realistic future for Sudan. Fighting raged on, with the army saying it had bombed RSF positions outside the city of Al-Fasher, forcing hundreds of thousands to flee the Zamzam refugee camp. The African Christian Democratic Party, or ACDP, in South Africa says it does not support Israel's ongoing bombardment of Gaza, but believes that every state has the right to defend itself when threatened. The party's statement follows strong criticism for its trip to Israel. The trip, which included 11 members of parliament from the ACDP, Democratic Alliance and Patriotic Alliance, has been described as a fact-finding mission. It comes as South Africa's case against Israel at the International Court of Justice still stands. ACDP leader president is Reverend Kenneth Meshwe.
We are not supporting Israel's government. We are not supporting the state for whatever they are doing, but we are very specific that we support every person and every government's right to exist, and if their existence is threatened, then they have the right to defend themselves, because we know that Hamas has publicly said that they do not believe that Israel should be allowed to live where they are. They should be annihilated.
And finally, the UK Supreme Court is expected to deliver its verdict on how a woman should be defined in law. The announcement marks the culmination of a long-running legal battle between the Scottish Government and a women's group. The outcome could have far-reaching implications on how sex-based rights apply across Scotland, England and Wales. The Scottish Government argues that transgender people with a gender recognition certificate are entitled to sex-based protections, while for women, Scotland argues they only apply to people that are born female. Recapping the top story this hour, 8 medical professionals accused of attempted murder, fraud and selling human organs in the Eastern Cape province of South Africa are due in court. The 2 doctors and 6 nurses allegedly harvested organs from unsuspecting patients during surgeries for profit. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Hey, you're right in the beginning of the third hour of On the Move. It's 6 minutes past 11 o'clock Central African time. Thank you to Jualane. We still have our sports update that we're going to get a wrap up of the morning sports from Figile Lingwati, giving us our business news a little bit later on. We've got Tabiso Ulehoko who will join us for that one. Remember, we are live everywhere on social media, so become part of the fun. Already we've had Evans joining us, Abel Mwale joining us, and from Malawi our brother Kondwani was with us. Wherever you are on the African continent, find us on our Facebook page, Channel Africa, and you can listen us live. But it's not just on Channel Africa. We make sure that we are multifaceted on the platforms that you can find us on. We also on Instagram, and don't forget that it's also running live on our YouTube page. Yes, our YouTube page is simply using the handle at Channel Africa 1. So of course the phrase Channel Africa and the number 1 at the end of that. Hey man, you can see Beauty and the Beast in studio. Definitely I'm the Beast and Bali is the Beauty.
100%. He's not a beast though, Benji. You're not so bad. The beauty and the handsome, you know.
Thank you, Bali. Thank you.
Well, yeah, enjoying the live stream there. Hopefully you are too at Channel Africa 1. Find us there on our social media platforms. In this hour of the show, we're speaking about critical illness. And this is, you know, when you find yourself in a situation between life and death. And when someone falls critically ill, hospitals are expected to provide life-saving care. But unfortunately, in many African countries, intensive care units are rare and they don't actually have that life-saving care you might need. We're going into that conversation in this hour of the show, chatting to Dr. Karima Khalid, lecturer, researcher and consultant in anesthesiology and critical care at Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences in Tanzania, speaking to us and unpacking the African Critical Illness Outcome Study, which provides the first large-scale look at the state of critical illness care across the African continent.
Yeah, man, you are listening to Channel Africa. Stay engaged with us in our final hour. We are asking the question a little bit earlier. What do you do? What do you say to yourself to keep yourself motivated? I'll get to your thoughts on that one a little bit later on. Also put that question on my Facebook page, Benjamin Mushatama. You can also follow me on there. I've got that question. What do you say to yourself to make yourself just feel a little bit motivated? That must be that one stanza, that one phrase, or that one word that you keep yourself going with. Or you can just give us that phrase or that mantra or that statement that you use to motivate yourself on our WhatsApp number, +2763 406 9126. That number again, +2763 406 9126. This is On the Move, the award-winning program. You are with us until midday Central African time.
Hey there, this is Palesa Tau, part of the dynamic duo that gives you On the Move right here on Channel Africa from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Well, it's with your help for the past 2 years that we have been a multi-award winning show.
Finally, here we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations. Turn it up.
Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us a Maldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
Annika Longi sur Channel Africa.
Nous étions en train de savourer la chanson Démocratie.
Démocratie.
Ça veut dire quoi?
Démocratie, déjà, ça dérive de démocratie, qui est le régime dans lequel nous sommes, dans notre pays. Mais je plutôt penser que nous sommes plutôt dans une démocratie.
Pourquoi?
Où il y a une cruauté tellement une méchanceté des dirigeants envers la population. En fait, dans cette chanson, je suis en train de blâmer tout le monde. Je blâme et les dirigeants, qui pour moi sont des démocrates.
Oh, je suis maintenant en train de comprendre. Donc, démocratie. Oh!
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
#OnTheMove and connect with us.
All right, let's move into this conversation for the day today as we unpack the state of critical illness care across the continent. When someone falls critically ill, hospitals are expected to provide life-saving care. But in many African countries, intensive care units are very rare. Critical ill patients are treated in general hospital wards. That's sad. I was one of those. And the provision of essential emergency and critical care is limited, and also critical care expertise and professionals are very rare. In high resource settings, some critically ill patients are treated in intensive care units. They receive continuous monitoring, oxygen support, medication to stabilize their blood pressure. Well, to find out some of these findings that are in the critical illness outcomes study, we're joined by Dr. Karima Khalid, who is a lecturer, researcher, and also an expert in critical care based at the Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences in Tanzania. Thank you, Dr. Karima, for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm glad to be with you today.
This is an important conversation indeed, and I think one that we can take for granted if you have private health care. But a majority of Africans, such as myself, rely on public health. And public health care systems on the African continent are very much challenged. But I want us to go back and speak a little bit more about critical illness, just to break down what it is so there's a better understanding of the context of the conversation.
Thank you. I think that's really important. While when we speak about critical illness, we're actually referring to any life-threatening conditions where at least one vital organ of the body is failing. So this could be the heart, could be the lung, or the brain, and it can actually be caused by any underlying condition, which could be like infections, non-communicable diseases such as heart attacks or strokes. It could be caused by trauma, and it can actually affect any person of any age or of any socioeconomic status anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what kind of critical care? I mean, I was in hospital because my heart blood pressure was very, very high. Doctor, I was actually just about to die. I had a whole lot of clots in my heart system, and the public hospital that I went to, all they could do was give me a lot of blood thinners in the meanwhile while we were waiting for a cardiologist. But I'm using myself as an example because it's timely, but more importantly because critical care is deathly. If I didn't get that intervention from the public health system, of course, I wouldn't have had an intervention to actually go see a cardiologist. But the big challenge is that public health hospital didn't have access to cardiology machinery, but more essentially, they didn't have heart specialists on site. So that sounds very familiar, I'm sure, when you're hearing my example. But this is life and death healthcare that we're talking about.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. That is exactly the type of care that you're talking about. When we talking of the care that these patients need when they become critically ill, it's actually the very basic care that is life-saving. Mm-hmm. Interventions. These are things like being provided with oxygen as you're waiting to receive this advanced care, things like IV fluids, being positioned in the right position, being communicated with, being told what is happening to you and what intervention is taking place at that moment. So this is the care that is provided to anyone. For example, if you've had a heart attack and you are now unconscious, or you are now not breathing very well and you need oxygen administration. So giving you oxygen, ensuring that you're in a good position, you're positioned well, so that if anything comes down to your airway, that doesn't go down to your airway to compromise your airway and the flow of air into your lungs. So we call it the lateral positioning, to ensure that your very basic, crucial parts of your body, organs of your body are working well. So this care should be available at all levels of care, irrespective of the resource availability. So it's not the care that can only be provided in high level resources or private facilities. It should be the care that is able to be provided at all levels, lower facilities, low-income facilities, high-income facilities, irrespective of where patients are located. And these interventions that are like oxygen support, medication to stabilize the blood pressure, and other life-saving treatments can actually be provided by any healthcare provider. They don't have to be specialists. They don't have to be doctors. It can be nurses or doctors. Anyone trained in providing care to patients is able to provide this care or should be able to provide this care to patients and save their lives and make them stable so that during the time that they are waiting for the advanced care, their lives are being stabilized.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get you. That means I actually got critical care. Thank you for, giving us that aspect indeed, because I was in a public hospital and I was kind of assisted in terms of that transition point to getting someone to actually come on site and actually assist me, even if it was a few days later because of a shortage of specialists.
Well, Dr. Khalid, most of the time when we think about critical care, we think about things and illnesses that don't happen every day. And maybe a person would need critical care maybe once, twice, maybe 3 times in their entire lives if they live a long life, that is. And so maybe we don't think of it as a huge burden. How much of a burden is critical illness on global healthcare?
Thank you. That's a very important question. Yes, as you have said, maybe we transition through our lives and become maybe critically ill once or twice in our lives. But looking at the burden globally, we don't have a lot of data that describes critical illness very well, but it is seen from different studies that around 35 to 45 million people become critically ill annually. And from the data that we have done through our study in Africa, we have found that in our patients who are admitted in facilities, almost 12.5 or 13 patients out of 100 patients are critically ill at any point in our facilities. So the burden is high, and we don't think about it a lot because maybe when we're going through our life, it's not something that affects us as individuals directly each day or every day. But as at the population level, there is a high burden of critical illness globally.
All right, well, we need to take a break. Stay with us on the line, Dr. Khalid. We'll continue speaking about critical illness care on the African continent and what that landscape looks like. Stay on the line. We'll be back after this break.
África. Conhece o Ntivani?
Claro que sou eu.
O Ntivani é o amante da música de corpo e alma.
Eu amo música africana.
Ele aprecia todos os tipos de melodias e passa os seus dias a ouvir a Channel África. Adivinha só, a Channel África quer ajudar o Ntivani e os amantes da música em todo o lado a descobrir ainda mais música incrível. Por isso, a Channel África está a convocar artistas africanos a submeterem as suas músicas. Músicos, lembrem-se de nos dar todas as informações relevantes no music@channelafrica.co.za. As submissões são a vossa oportunidade de ser ouvidos, mas não garantem inclusão na lista. Todas as submissões serão cuidadosamente analisadas para verificar se cumprem os requisitos da nossa estação. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa on the move.
We are unpacking the state of critical illness care across the African continent. Still joining us on the line is Dr. Karima Khalid, lecturer, researcher and consultant in anesthesiology and critical care at Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences in Tanzania. And she continues to help us unpack the state of critical illness care on the continent. Well, what are some of the key findings when it comes to, how critical care should actually be handled on the continent? I think many of us think of critical care as what we've seen in the movies on TV since we're growing up. There's an ICU room, it's sheltered, it's just for you, and people come and look at you and bring you flowers in ICU. But unfortunately for many Africans who have experienced critical illnesses, there is no ICU room in many of our hospitals.
Yes, that's very right. As we see it in the movies, that's not actually what really happens in real life. The burden of critical illness is very high, as we just stated, and most of the patients who are critically ill are actually cared for outside the ICU. More than 69% in the study that we conducted across Africa, the African Critical Illness Outcome Study, we found that around 69% of critically ill patients are actually cared for outside the ICUs. And this is not only in Africa. This has also been studied in high-income countries, and the findings are almost the same. More than 90% of patients are actually cared for, who are critically ill, actually cared for outside ICUs. Because there's limited ICU beds, and mostly these patients do not actually require intensive care. They require critical care. There's a distinction between intensive care, which is a high-tech, highly resource-intensive care, and very expensive, that is provided in ICUs. But when we talk of critical care in general, we're speaking of these simple life-saving interventions, as I said before, like provision of oxygen and IV fluids, and provision that can happen even in our general wards. So we found in our study that was conducted across Africa, and it included 22 countries across 180 hospitals, and it included almost 20,000 patients. What we found is that the patients, more than half of them do not receive the care that they need. The treatment, these simple treatments that you're talking about, do not receive the care that they need. And that around 8.5% of the patients in our facilities are actually critically ill, and they are 8 times more likely to die in hospitals than other patients in our facilities. So you can see that there's a very large gap in the provision of the care that they need. You can imagine more than 50% of them, almost half of them, are not receiving the care that they need. And we're talking of these simple interventions that we think are happening at any point when we are in a health facility. We assume that a patient who needs oxygen will actually receive it, but only 48% of the patients who actually needed oxygen were receiving it when we conducted the study.
Sure, that's a low rate, yeah.
Yes, quite low rates, yes. And we've seen that patients who are unconscious, usually we need to place them in a position that does not compromise their airway and cause aspiration, and which can block their airway and cause them to die. But then we found that a lot of these patients, then less than half of them were actually positioned in a position that is preventive of these problems.
Yeah.
So the expectations are not what is happening in our facilities currently. Yes.
There's an incredibly sad story that I heard in the news here in South Africa yesterday of a primary school girl child who swallowed the lid of a pen in the classroom and unfortunately passed on in hospital. This seems like a menial moment when it happens because children, are inquisitive and they do that kind of thing. But perhaps with the right critical illness care, they could have saved this little girl's life. According to the study, what are some of the things that each and every hospital needs to increase or to improve the quality of critical illness care?
Thank you. That's a very good question that you've asked me. So, as I stated before, what we need is actually very simple, low-cost interventions that can prevent such deaths that should not be happening in our facilities. So these are things like being able to provide oxygen to all patients who have trouble breathing, being able to provide fluids and medications to patients whose blood pressures are not stable, things like training our healthcare providers to provide these life-saving basic skills and techniques, and to for them to have the knowledge and also to provide them with the necessary requirements, things like oxygen being present in their facilities, the gadgets that they need to provide this oxygen, making sure that tools are there, making sure they have guidelines so they can guide them to provide this care in the facilities. These kinds of things will make sure that when our patients actually go to our facilities, they receive the care that they need. And for us to be able to do this, we have to speak at a government level or global level. Organizations have to be having these agendas in their everyday policies and patient care benefit packages so that they can actually be implemented in our facilities.
Let's talk a little bit about why aren't we seeing a good support mechanism for our hospitals when it comes to critical illness care, because you think that would be a main priority. You think hospitals will start as that being a basis of health care. Why aren't we getting it right? Is it political will? Is it funding? Is it that we don't prioritize health in our national budgets?
Thank you for that question. There's multiple reasons as to why this might not be seen as a big problem, and also if maybe it's not receiving the highlights that it showed as being a very high burden in our healthcare. So one of the things is that we have a lot of initiatives in our healthcare division. But they usually target certain populations of patients. So we have initiatives for pediatric patients. We have initiatives for HIV patients, pneumonia patients. We have these silos of care. So I deal with obstetric patients. I deal with pediatric patients. I deal with patients who have internal medicine problems like high blood pressure and the like. So these patients tend to fall between these silos. All these patients can at some point become critically ill. And what we see is that there's not much advocacy for these patients when they become critically ill, and when they present with things like shortness of breath, when their blood pressures have gone really low and then maybe they're unconscious. We see that the care that is needed for all these patients cuts across any of these specialties. But there is no advocacy in our policies or globally that talks about this group of patients when they become critically ill. So that is where we see a lot of problems, and a lot of work needs to be done to ensure that we advocate for patients who become critically ill, irrespective of what underlying condition they are presenting with.
This is very scary also, Dr. Khalid, because, those people who find themselves in a space where they're critically ill and they are pretty much afraid to lose their life. And I suppose it's an added burden on those individuals to think about, hey, where I am going, the hospital that will be tending to me, do they have the right training? Do they have the right infrastructure to take care of me and save my life? So hopefully some of these key findings and recommendations can come into play, and we see a better improvement in the critical illness care sectors of our medical sectors here on the African continent, so that we can save as many lives as possible. We'll have to leave it there, though. We really appreciate your time in unpacking this for us this morning.
Thank you very much. I'm really glad to have been able to share some of this information with you. And I would like to urge every government, the World Health Organization, all our funders and professional medical societies to ensure that these basic life-saving interventions, as we term as essential emergency critical care, are provided to all critically ill patients globally, and that it is actually a requirement that is more or less human rights requirements that all teachers should receive this care. Thank you very much.
That's Dr. Karima Khalid, lecturer, researcher and consultant in critical care at Muhimbili University of Health and Allied Sciences in Tanzania, giving us a rundown of the state of critical illness care on the African continent. It's 11:30 Central Africa time. Once again, let's get our latest sports news with Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
We kick off with rugby news. The Springbok women's scrum coach, Lauren Johannes Haupt, says they have worked hard on becoming a formidable set-piece unit and a strong scrummaging side and are determined to play to those strengths when they meet Spain in Elche on Saturday. This follows another good training session at the team's base at the Bonalba Golf Resort in Alicante on Tuesday, where a lot of focus went into scrumming and mauling options for the team. The 12th-ranked Bok women will be facing the 13th-ranked Spanish women's team on Saturday, but while this is the first test of the year for the South Africans, Spain are entering the contest more battle-hardened. The two sides met twice last year, once in Valladolid and once in Cape Town, with the Springbok women winning on both occasions. They also enjoyed a 94% success rate in scrums on their own feet compared to Spain's 74%. The Springbok women team to face Spain on Saturday will be named today. Kenya President William Ruto has challenged the leadership and managers of Kenyan football to raise the game's profile to international standards. The president called on football officials to end managerial issues that have long plagued the sport, stunting its growth for years. President Ruto made the remarks when he flagged off the Harambee Stars team heading for the Under-20 African Cup of Nations tournament in Egypt from the 27th of April to the 18th of May. Kenya has been placed in Group B together with continental soccer giants Nigeria, Morocco and Tunisia. The president said the Kenyan team has already made history by being the first to qualify for the competition. Still with football news, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says they have no fear of facing Real Madrid at the Bernabeu tonight and will play to win the game despite already holding a 3-0 advantage from the first leg. Last week's victory at the Emirates Stadium, secured by Declan Rice's free kicks and Mikel Merino's third goal, has put Arsenal in a commanding position. Arteta says they have to prove again on the pitch.
172 days or something like this, but it doesn't matter. We have to prove it now in this context, and that's the beauty of it. That's the challenge, and that's the great thing about sports, and that we've shown that we are capable of doing it. That has to give us reassurance and confidence that we can do it. And now let's talk on the pitch and do it on the pitch. It's the only thing that matters. The same mindset, the mindset to win, to be brave, to be dominant, to be determined, and to have the conviction that we can be better than them and win the game.
Real Madrid have only come back from a 3-goal first-leg deficit once in their history against Derby County 6-5 on aggregate in 1975 and 1976. Real Madrid midfielder Jude Bellingham was asked about remontada, the Spanish word for comeback.
Remontada? Honestly, I've heard it about a million times since last week. I've seen a million videos online and made by fans, made by kind of you guys, I suppose, and really motivating stuff. It's a night that's made for Real Madrid, a night that would go down, but also be something that people are familiar with around this part of the world. So, hopefully we can add another special night.
Let's end with golf news. Putting coach Brad Faxon says Rory McIlroy waited more than a decade to win his 5th major, but said his triumph at the Masters on Sunday will give the Northern Irishman a platform to kick on and win 5 more. McIlroy beat England's Justin Rose in a sudden death playoff in Augusta National to join Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, Jean Sarrazin, Ben Hogan and Gary Player as the only players to complete the career Grand Slam in men's golf. McIlroy savored major successes early in his career, winning the 2011 US Open, 2012 and 2014 PGA Championship, as well as the 2014 Open. But he experienced gut-wrenching disappointment at the Masters as he sought to complete the Grand Slam. Faxon says those lows had made him stronger. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. This is for when you have to wake your neighbors up. Weekends, 3 to 6 in the morning.
On that beautiful piano tip. This is Angelic, hanging out with Demtuda and the musical chef. Wamuhle basically means you are beautiful. You know what? It makes me think though, if I were a woman, I would be very appreciative, you know, of meeting guys that will tell you that you are beautiful. But I think the annoying part though, you know those ones. Baby, my size. That one should be very annoying. Yeah, no wonder I'm not a woman.
When you have to wake your neighbors up, play them the morning switch on the weekends with the Shy Guy, 3 to 6 in the morning, Central African Time.
Hey, Joyce Sato, I see you there on our live stream there. And also George Mbewe, thank you for joining us earlier on our live stream on Facebook. And hey, let's move on right now and see what Tabiso Lehoko has up in his wrap-up for our business news today.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Benjamin, and good morning. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has commended the Eastern Cape province for the investment projects it has initiated to boost the micro and macro economies of the country through its ports. Ramaphosa has been on an oversight visit to the province where he was briefed on the performance of the Kruger Special Economic Zone, one of the best performing SEZs in the country. The port has employed around 300,000 people since its inception in 1999. Ramaphosa says there is so much potential for economic growth. South Africa's industrial sector is facing pressure on the back of declining mining production as well as manufacturing production that has also been on the back foot. According to data released by Statistics South Africa, mining was down by 9.6% annually in February, while manufacturing was down 3.2%. Hugo Pienaar is chief economist at the Mining Council of South Africa.
The latest figures for real mining production indicate a tough start to 2025, with 9 out of the 12 mining subcategories showing month-on-month output declines for the month of February. As a result, total seasonally adjusted mining production declined by a steep 4.4% during February. This is on a month-on-month basis.
Health professionals in Mozambique have announced that they will down tools tomorrow. They say the strike action will see the professionals only work 8 hours a day and will suspend working on weekends. Milton Malulek reports.
At stake are the demands of the Association of United and the Solidarity Health Professionals of Mozambique, which for 3 years has been asking the government to provide medicines to hospitals, purchase hospital beds, resolve the lack of food, equip ambulance with emergency materials and non-dispensable personal protective equipment, pay overtime, and improve the framework within the scope of the single salary table.
Algerian energy firm Sonatrach says it has signed 2 memorandums of understanding with U.S. shale company Occidental Petroleum to expand cooperation in hydrocarbon exploration and production in Algeria. The MOUs were signed on Monday on the sidelines of the U.S.-Algeria Energy Forum 2025. Sonatrach is the largest company in Africa and a major player in the global energy industry. China has changed its top trade negotiator in the middle of its tug-of-war with the United States. Li Chenggang was Beijing's representative at the World Trade Organization. Beijing has also announced that its economy grew by more than 5% in the first 3 months of the year. The BBC's Stephen McDonnell has the details.
He's someone who was China's ambassador to the World Trade Organization in Geneva. And so if you're going to have somebody at the helm leading the trade negotiations, it's going to have to be someone with a lot of experience. Now, his appointment came out on the same day that the first quarter growth figures came out here, actually better than expected.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 603, Botswana 13 pula 76, Kenya 128 shilling 853, and Zambia 28 kwacha 28. The BRICS countries, Brazil, the dollar there is trading at 5 real 86, Russia 82 rubles 373, India 85 rupees 76, China 71 30, and in South Africa the dollar will cost you 18 rand 93. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Gold is trading at $3,267 and platinum at $956 per ounce. Brent crude oil is at $64.53 a barrel. For any business stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business in Johannesburg, I'm Tabisolo Hoku.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Start your day right with Channel Africa Breakfast.
That smells delicious.
Live, 5 days a week. Big news from Channel Africa. Now you can listen and watch your favorite shows on Channel Africa. Channel Africa is streaming live on the internet on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1 from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Central African Time. Download the SABC Plus app or visit our website www.channelafrica.co.za and stream us live on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa now streaming for your eyes and ears only. Channel Africa, the African perspective. No fairy tales, just the facts and the music you love on Channel Africa.
This one I better do with the jabata. Me, I no get time, I did da ba da. Dada cover my face, calling me la ba da. Biggie man, we know they wear a ba da. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all depend. The girl them, ride the whip. I no fit, die for nothing. My nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all depend. The girl them, ride the whip. I no fit, die for nothing. Make you no say anything when you do, they must commend it. I can't come and keep myself. So anything when I do, I they try to do on my way. I can't come and keep myself. Plenty so far we face. Just to make sure money day. But my people then go say, I know one buy, I know one die, I know one payment. I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the whip, I no fit, die for nothing. My nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the with me, I no fit. Different things them happening, schemes and packaging. In a one night for shows, I'm juggling. Flow like the ocean, my boat, I'm paddling. Sharashina Pella, that's my bro, my family. Frozen dreams. When it comes to money, I they concentrate. Make I tell you straight, you are not my mate. If you become a I be head of state. But my people then go say, I know one buy, I know one die, I know one payment. I want enjoy, I want job life, I want buy motor, I want build house, I still want to know. Tell me, my nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the whip. I no fit, die for nothing. My nigga, what's it gon' be? G-Wagon, all the Bentley, the girl them, ride the whip. I no fit, die for nothing.
Yeah, that's Burner Boy. This one is titled, an oldie but a goodie right here on Channel Africa, giving you the African perspective, but also good music from the continent. So yeah, there's a lot to get right here on The Move. Find us on our various platforms, Channel Africa. Sure you are pushing away that imposter syndrome, and if you're trying, in what small ways are you trying? Because there's a phrase here in South Africa. It's an Afrikaans phrase, which is one of our official languages. It's called "Bikkie bikkie maak meer," and that means just a little.
That's the
bit,
only phrase many
step.
of us know.
Yeah. It's the only phrase that I know in Afrikaans. But "Bikkie bikkie maak meer" means that it takes small steps to make more, to make something bigger, and to make something happen. So what are some of those bikkie, those small steps that you are taking to remove the imposter syndrome for your life, and of course to move towards your passion and your dreams?
Well, TC says, similar to you, Ben, I love that one. I'm the head and not the tail. That is my favorite one. So hey, we are rocking the same boat there, TC. And then Sipho Nkosi says that, the big one, which is, although he has different ones, is all things work together for good. That one sounds fantastic. I love that one. And he says another one is even the worst circumstances are a roundabout way to bring the best possible outcomes.
Yeah, I have another one that I love to share. So what I always say, I'm always grateful for life every morning, right? And what I always say is that as long as there's life, there's hope. And I always feel like I wouldn't be alive if all the things that I needed to do or I wanted to do were not a possibility. So for as long as there's life, there's hope.
Well, Dot the Mouse says, this is what ChatGPT said. I say to myself, and he says, GPT says that no one sees the full scope yet, but I do, and that's enough for now. Well, thank you so much. Even Chat GPT knows what we are saying to ourselves. What are you saying to yourself to actually make yourself, to actually go through the difficult moments? What is the one thing that you say to yourself that keeps you believing in yourself? Give us your sentence. Don't make it too long. We just want that one sentence, and we'll get your thoughts as we continue and we wrap up the show. Remember that WhatsApp number is +27 63406 9126. You can text us your thoughts, but also we want to hear your voice as well. You can voice note us here on The Move.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa on The Move.
Open the fire, play the bed, do let them know. No finish you, no finish you. Man, no fit tire, every day I'm on the road. No limit you, no limit you. This now so good. Would you turn down for? Would you robo? Many things we can do. Tori, I'm into you. Would you wire for you? Tonight I'll be dancing at the bed away. Yo lava, give me your hand and shoulder.
9 to 12 midday Central African Time. On The Move with Palesa and Benjamin Mushatama.
I don't need nothing from you. Your beautiful art is the muse. I've been reckless with my choices. Can't seem to get what the point is. Life can be rough, can be smooth, and not every fact is the truth. Advancing, I've laid down my burden. Can't We go be your shoulder body, best in anything. Your type no many, they are not ready. I go give you 100%, never no 90. More than amazing, well quality. You are deserving of the love you are not getting. Independently, I'll take the liberty, and I go love you specially. Oh, all the love, all the care, then they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I go love you specially. Oh, all the love, all the care, then they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I go love you. Them go wanna, why you so colorful? Them go wanna, because if melodies for my chest, cannot get a hold of myself. Yeah, yeah. I dey hope say you dey feel the same way. I've been low, the money no fit in me. You be cold, we dancing no side baby. Many tales to tell. Oh, in this setting, I be that person. We gon' be your shoulder body, best in anything. Your type no many, they are not ready. I go give you 100%, never no 90. But then amazing, well quality. You are deserving of the love you are not getting. Independently, I'll take the liberty, and I go love you specially. Oh, all the love, all the care, then they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I go love you specially. All the love, all the care, then they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I go love you specially. But once in this sense me, I'll be that person. We gon' be your shoulder body, best in anything. Don't have no many, we are not ready. I gon' give you 100%, never no 90. More than amazing, well quality. You are deserving of the love you are not getting. Independently, I'll take the liberty, and I gon' love you specially. Oh, all the love, all the care, them they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it. I gon' love you specially. All the love, all the care, then they fake out. Don't be hard, baby, give it.
Hey, wasn't Arya Star in the country in South Africa sometime back?
Recently,
Was it?
actually. Yeah.
Okay. And Thames as well.
Thames was also here. She had a bit of a tour here in South Africa and a big concert at the FNB Stadium.
All right, that one is Arya Star, titled All the Love. We love that one. Hey, we just had some sad news just coming out that we're seeing on social media everywhere. And that John Mlangeni passed away today. And it's so sad because I was like a Brazil fan. I used to watch Isidingo on non-stop back in the days. Like I knew like I needed to get home just so I can watch Isidingo. I used to actually have like a format of watching Isidingo. I know that I would watch Dragon Ball Z. Yes, even when I was in high school, I was a Dragon Ball Z fan. And after Dragon Ball Z, you know, it's around 5 and then 6 o'clock, you know, I'm gonna go watch 6:30 Isidingo. Well, that's a big loss to the entertainment fraternity in South Africa and the continent. We know him from Is Good Is Nice as Lakasha. We know him as Zebedia. Zebedia.
Hey.
You didn't sleep at home today.
And the character you're looking for, his name was Mhlongo.
Yes. He was scary, that guy.
Very
Especially
scary.
when he disappeared. There was a time he disappeared, that character, from his family. And he came back. He was a mess. Like he was twitching. And this guy was a great actor.
Very, very good.
We lost such a wonderful actor in South Africa. And also, like one of those actors that were just like actors, you know, they didn't act like celebrities like we have today. It was like a proper South African actor where people that really, you know, they didn't go in front of our screen because they were on content creators or they were, you know, famous on Instagram. I'm sorry, guys. I know I get negative about social media sometimes, but like, this was one of the greatest actors of our lifetime. I'm really sad about this one. Rest in peace, Mr. Don Mlangeni, and condolences to the Mlangeni family. Well, that one takes us to 11:55 Central African time. Not a really nice way to end the show, but it is what it is. Hey, Lulu, how you doing?
I'm well, thanks, and how are you?
Good. What's your favorite part that Don Mlangeni acted in?
La Clash. Yeah, that was I think that long leather jacket, that coat, and
didn't you have a nopkiri?
Yeah, no, was it a nopkiri or it was a bat? There was something he was always carrying with him. But yeah, may his soul rest in peace. A brilliant talent that we had, and I like the fact that he was honoured a few years ago as a long time. Actor, a brilliant actor. I think he was honoured at some point.
Yeah, because sometimes we wait until they pass away and then we start honouring them.
Yeah.
Well, what can we expect on the show today on the Africa Update?
All right, today we're going to be focusing on Mozambique, where the Mozambican health professionals have announced a new strike starting on Thursday. We'll unpack that and just find out exactly and get an update as to exactly what is happening on the ground. Milton Maluleke will be giving us an update on that story. And Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu faces criticism over lack of assistance given to Plateau State. Plateau State, I think a number of people having lost their lives, killed in the early hours of Monday morning. And I think it's 51, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to be speaking to our correspondent there, Jonathan James Liam Gon, who'll unpack that for us as to exactly what happened and, what, as the report says. There hasn't been much assistance, so we'll unpack why that is the case and why government is dragging their feet.
All right, making sure that you're updated in the news of the African continent. Definitely, we ending up with sad news, and it is trending. That's why we just picked it up now. The death of a wonderful actor in South Africa, Don Mlangeni. There was that piece that he acted as Zake Mhlongo in Hlala Kwabafileyo. That's the one where he disappeared and he died and then he came back and then he had this huge scratch on his face, like a big scar, and always twitching, and he was always up to something sinister or strange, or like people didn't even trust him as a father once again. But what a big loss of that wonderful actor indeed. But we're going to leave you with some music right here on Channel Africa. We'll be back same place, same time, but don't go anyway. Stay with us right here on Channel Africa.
Benjamin Mushatama and Palesa on the move.